Welcome back to a new edition of the Focus to Win podcast. We got another guest joining us today, and we're going to center it around more of the nutritional aspects and how it ties into the mindset. This special guest is actually a longtime friend of Lee Tessier. So
a couple days. So ninth grade, we've been friends since best friends, 35 years. Wow. So his background was, besides being a friend, played sports, baseball, wrestling. Trying to think what else you played in there, but I'll get into some of the other highlights of, he won teenage Mr. Maryland, got his, and then he won Mr. Maryland. Then at 35 years old, got his pro bodybuilding card. So it was like all that work. He worked for Baltimore County Police Department as a narcotics detective, and then Homeland Security he got 30 years of service in. So amazing background, nutrition. He's a dad of 2 girls, been married 21 years or so too. So, like I said, good personal friends for 35 plus years. And welcome, Chris. So thanks so much, Chris Toland.
Thanks for joining, Chris.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Of course. Yeah. I think the big thing that I'm super impressed about, and I've been friends with you 35 years, but on the outskirts, I love listening about Lee talk about your fitness journey and how you've accomplished so many things, and also pass it down to your daughter, who's now a Division I athlete at Towson University. So congratulations on all the success that you have attained at this point. So
thank you.
It's definitely something that you should be proud of.
Thank you.
I want to first touch on some nutritional aspects, because I know this is a very touchy topic in today's world, with everybody taking the fad diets and figuring out how can I lose weight, and with technology advancing, everybody's looking for the secret sauce. And you're a guy that's been jacked. I always think, man, this dude at 50 years old is in tremendous shape. I want to hear your thoughts on the fad diets these days, and are there really the best ones out there?
Yeah, I wish there was some secret sauce. If there was, please share it with me. Yeah. No, I believe in good, sound nutrition, starting with a good lean protein source, a starchy carbohydrate, and fibrous carbohydrates combined together in your meals. I just don't believe in fad diets. I think that they are a recipe for a disaster. You may lose some weight, but then you're going to lose muscle. You're going to wind up gaining a lot of fat back, and it's just like a roller coaster ride. So I think the best approach, and what's always worked for me, for clients that I've worked with over the many years, is just a good, sound nutritional plan consisting of the protein, the lean protein source, the starchy carbohydrate source, and the fibrous carbs, and just making a lifestyle out of it.
Well, that was one of the things I did leave out. So Chris is a nutritionist too. So I even met with him. I was getting closer to 50, and I said, man, I got to really look at what I need to do. He was helping bodybuilders and fitness competitors and so forth, of getting lean and then losing that last layer of water and so forth, and really getting the muscles to pop, so forth. But I think of, even as simple as, hey, I need a plan, rather than just going hey, I'm going to eat keto, or I'm going to eat this. I just went to him, hey, what should I do? And I came back to, you put my weight in and my age and so forth. And then you're looking and calculating how much how much protein do I need each day? You're breaking down the meals, my egg whites, my chicken, my rice, my vegetables, potatoes and so forth. So I think of, you can make it still taste good, because that was my old concern, was shit, absolutely, what is this going to taste like? Because that's what you said about secret sauce. I'm maybe hot sauce. That's only a little secret sauce there maybe, because there's not a lot of, you're not getting fat or anything else in it. But Frank's Red Hot's pretty good, and I like the Old Bay one too. So, but let's talk a little bit deeper there of, what does that look like for most people, so they can actually eat, and lose some weight and gain muscle too, rather, because that's your trade-off. I think of some of these fat, or fad diets or fat loss, then they're losing so much muscle mass as Correct. Well as, they lost the fat, great, but then they have too much muscle mass that they've lost.
Yes, and that's bad. Your metabolism stays higher the more muscle mass you have, the more lean mass you have. So my thing was, let's keep your protein levels up. So I typically shot for about 1.25 grams to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Ultimately, it's going to depend on your activity as well. So what are you doing? Are you a competitive bodybuilder? Are you a wrestler? Are you just an everyday average person? So I'd always take those factors into consideration as well. But once we got your protein levels where we needed them, we would adjust your starchy carbs and your fibrous carbs to match what your body needs to keep that lean mass, to lose that body fat. And of course, we throw in our cardio and our workouts, and make sure we got the whole program put together to give you the best results.
Yeah. So I think of like that, and then it comes back to the dedication of eating well, right?
Absolutely.
So I think of golf tournaments that you've played in with me, and I'm like, we're riding around the course, and I'm grabbing a beer and a hot dog or something, and you're in the middle of training and so forth, and you come to the cart with the big ass cooler that you're carrying around. It's like he breaks out a cucumber, and he's munching on a cucumber, and I'm having a beer or whatever else. But he would be so dedicated through those years of anytime he was competing for a show or whatever, and life for the most part. You had your ups and downs. It was like I'm thinking of different times, but I just remember we were at Hunt Valley Golf and Country Club, and I just remember coming down a hill, and I was getting a beer from a cooler, and you're like, munching on this damn cucumber. And I'm like, but the dedication that you had, I had probably never seen anybody as dedicated as you have been. And then over the years, as I've been around you for so long and known you so well, I'm like, all right, if I'm like, I've mastered a lot of the other part of my life, but I haven't mastered eating. And eating in a better way or a cleaner way, so I'm not eating all the fats and burgers and fries and all that little crap. But I think it comes back to, hey, then the dedication is for people. Like, what does that look like to map out to help? Say it's a younger college age student, or it's the person that works every day, and what can I do to live a leaner, healthier life and not lose all my muscle fat, and not have to go get a Ozempic or whatever the shots are to lose weight and so forth.
All right. Well, consistency is key. So if the majority of your time you are eating a good, clean diet, you can have those occasional times where you go eat that burger, you have that bowl of ice cream, whatever it might be. But as long as you're following that sound nutritional plan for the most part, you're going to be fine. Your metabolism is going to be high. You're going to keep your muscle, and you're going to stay lean.
Yeah. And my curiosity is, I often hear many adults say, as you get older, your metabolism slows down and you're not. Is that because of the diet and lifestyle habits that they created, or is that something that's just genetically progressing to get to that point at some point?
It's perfectly natural, and I can attest to that. My metabolism today at 50 years old is not like it was when I was 35, when I earned my pro card. No matter how much cardio I do, how hard I train, how good I eat, the metabolism still, it does not feel the same as it did back then. But what do? We stay consistent, and we do the best we can. And yeah, I can still get just as lean as I was back then. Last year alone, I was ready for the stage pretty much. I was probably a couple weeks away. I could have been on the stage. That's how lean I got.
All from a bet.
All from a bet.
All Jersey Mike.
How did that happen?
So we were at the pool at our place in Florida, and Jersey Mike's one of our neighbors, and he says to him, he's like, hey, when you come back, this is March, so he's like, when you come back in October, I bet I'm going to be in better shape than you. And he's like, all right, I'll take it on. And I didn't think anything of it. We were all having a couple of drinks and stuff. And then like midsummer, he's like, yeah, I'm like really on target for October. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, we made that bet. And he's like, I'm going to be in better shape than Jersey Mike. I'm like, okay. So he sends me a picture, and I was like, God damn, he's like 6-pack abs already and ripped. I was like, holy shit. So then a hurricane comes and he doesn't make it down there for it, unfortunately. So we had to send, Jersey Mike the pictures. And then he showed me like before, which we'll have to flash one of these up here, his before with a drink in his hand too, where he's ripped abs and what you went from like 230 down to 185 in what? Less than, well, it was 5-month period is when we were going from one to the other.
Right.
But I just think of that takes dedication, it takes planning, it takes, hey, I had to flip the switch in my head is because before that when you were on We Own the City, you were what, 250, 255?
I was 255.
And you're all of like 6'7", right? So
5'7".
Yeah, right. So you're 5'7", 5'8".
On a good day.
Right. And you were 255. I'm like, I think of when I let myself go, I was 255. So there's never perfect, right? That's my other point here is like, no matter what your thought process is, there's always tomorrow. And hey, you can get yourself back on a plan. But I reel it back to what was the mindset, what flipped the switch when he said, hey, I bet you. And you're like, all right, I'm going to get myself back in shape.
Yes, absolutely. And once I started, and I started feeling better and better, the leaner I got, the better I felt. So it was just continuing with it. And I did. I gave up a lot of things to get in that shape again. I remember my wife had a work party, and I was with her at the work party, and I said, "Hon, I got to go. I got to go hit the gym for my second round of cardio today." And I had my own food with me in a cooler, just like I always did. I still carry my food with me. I carried food with me today, my own food. I don't eat out a whole lot. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that. You gotta have something for the sweet tooth, right? To keep the cravings down. But that's, you get in that mindset. And for me, it was just like when I was competing, I would think that, look, there's nobody else that's going to be on stage with me. It's just going to be me and this tiny little pair of underwear, little briefs, and up there hitting poses. And if I don't look the best I can look, it's all on me. Right. So that was the same kind of mindset I had getting ready, for that bet. I said, I'm going to show up. I said I'd do it, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow through with what I said I would do. And word's
always the most important thing, because the first person you lie to is yourself.
Absolutely.
Let alone anybody else. So, that comes back to like sticking to a plan. But.
Yeah. You touched on a brief point there of the cravings. I feel like a lot of people, they start a diet for about 2 weeks. Usually that 2 week threshold is where a lot of people break even, like I would say within a month, right? So what are some key things that you've done to avoid that crack? And I know you're a very disciplined and competitive person naturally. So you have that already from a mindset perspective, which we'll touch on in the end. But I want to hear, to the average Joe that really struggles with that and that discipline, what are some key things that they can take away for some things that you've done?
Well, the biggest thing is mindset. I mean, you set the goal, right? You set that goal, and then you little steps to achieve that goal, and you just stay consistent with it. For me, I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to follow through, and I'm going to do it. The clients that I worked with throughout the years, I would meet with my clients. If they were competitive clients, I would meet with them weekly, and we would stat them. I would show them where they are on paper. Look, here's how much body fat you've lost this week. Here's how much lean mass you've gained this week. Here's what we need to do. So every week I would tell them, here's how you did this past week. Here's what we're going to change if we change anything. And here's what I expect for next week. And for me, it was the same thing. I'd hold myself to that same kind of level there. But it's tough, to stick to a diet, to stick to a workout plan. I also, one of the key things is, I would hear that I didn't get to the gym today because I was busy. I got busy at work. Something came up. I said, well, why didn't you get up earlier? I get up 4 a.m., I go to the gym. That way, whatever happens in the day, it doesn't matter. I've already got my workout in. I've hit my weight training. I've hit my cardio. And all I got to do is just eat good food throughout the rest of the day and get sleep at night.
Defense too. I just think of defense. Like, you don't put yourself in the situation of like, hey, you want to go out and have drinks tonight? No. Like, right. Do you want to go do this?
Absolutely.
No. There's a lot of defense in there. So I think that a lot of people don't think of it, and then they put themselves in a vulnerable situation. They're like, oh, it's right here. It's like, hey, do you want a piece of cake, or do you want a piece of cake? Now you have this in front of you in your face. You're like, it's hard to say no to that. But if you play defense and you don't put yourself in that situation, because you mentioned that earlier too, is like, I've learned to take myself out of situations. Or you go to Kim's party and you take food with you. I mean, I could pretty much everywhere I seen you go, he would be carrying his cooler of food. Like, he was prepared. And everybody's different. Like, I think of so many people that, you're going to the office and work, but people don't take food with them. Right. A lot of cases, I'm like, you're going to be in the office. You're going to get food. So you're going to get hungry at some point. You're not prepared. Yep. So you have, like, you have different snacks that you eat during the day, which are like, so get into nutrition. What does that look like? So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, I like to eat 4 to 5 meals a day. Some of that is going to be supplement based, depending on what's going on throughout the day. So I always make sure I've got some nutritional bars or a protein shake available. But I like to get the main bulk of my nutrition from food. Right. It's what I found works best for you. So morning might be egg whites. Have some egg whites with some veggies, baked potato or some rice. Lunch could be like chicken breast, rice or baked potato, and some more veggies of some sort. dinner. Typically for my evening meals, I cut back on the starches a little bit when I want to get leaner. So I'll just have a bigger dose
It's like
of
3 o'clock. What was your time? I'm trying to think of timeline of like
the 5 or 7 o'clock in between that time frame. Just cut back when the starch is a bit there and just have more protein, more veggies, and then utilize the supplements when you need them. So a protein shake if I need to fill that in throughout the day, or if I get too busy and I can't eat. But as you were saying, I take my food everywhere. So I'm known for having a big cooler of food. And I do it. I still do it. And I'm not even competing. I have no plans to compete. It's just the lifestyle that I live. I take my food with me.
Well, so much healthier, period.
Yeah.
I just think of even like the baked potato. I like potato chips. So I was like, I just started slicing up potatoes, like a baked potato, and then I would get everything bagel seasoning and just sprinkle that on it. Yeah. And I was like, that's good, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's creative right there.
Because that's what I said. I was like, can you have that? He's like, you can have seasonings that you're shaking on, just not sauce. Sauces is where you add so much calorie content and so forth, and fat and so forth. So I was like, all right, here's some alternatives that you can do that you're still eating healthy, and you're like, oh, I'm going to have that. That's really good.
Yeah. What would you say, like I know when I hear, like, even my mom, for instance, she always asks, like, I don't know what snacks to eat, what will keep me from boosting my metabolism. Do you have any specific foods that you're like, big no, stay away from? Because I know a lot of people are always curious, like, well, if I eat a few of these, it won't change much. Nothing will happen. Do you have any opinions on, like, what are some big no-nos to stay away from snack perspective?
You want to stay away from sugar.
Sure.
When you're worried about body fat, stay away from the sugar. So anything that's got that sugar in there, just avoid it. I'm not a big fan of fruit. I think fruit contains simple natural sugars. So I know a lot of people that I've worked with, they ate a lot of fruit. And when we cut that out of their diet, they got leaner.
Wow.
So I know I distribute Perillo products.
Nice.
I've been distributing them since the early 90s. It's the supplements that I use, and I've used with all my competitive clients and even my everyday clients. And we have a lot of options with the Perillo lineup there to give you nutrition. For instance, today I've got a thing of brownies with me. These are protein brownies. There's no fat in them. Wow. There's only like a couple grams of digestible carbs in them, and they're all protein. Wow. And they taste delicious. Wow. I have cookies, shortbread cookies. They're same kind of thing. So when I was competing, and when I'm on a strict diet because I want to get leaner, those are my go-to, the brownies and the cookies.
But what's your main thing you're eating that day? Are you eating like celery? You're eating cucumber? You're eating carrots? What's your snack? Like, what kind of, like, because you said about all food for the most part. So when you're eating all food, what does that look like besides like chicken, rice, tuna, egg whites, turkey, ground turkey?
Right.
What are you eating for, like, say, snacky stuff? So like celery sticks, a cucumber. Like, what does that come out to be?
Yep, absolutely. I get some celery sticks, some cucumbers. And I know people, they like to crack jokes when I whip out a cucumber because I don't slice it up. I just eat it like an apple. Yeah. And people make jokes at that. But, to each their own. I just eat it and don't worry about it. But, yeah, I snack on those fibers, carbohydrates like that throughout the day. And
anything else that you're filling? Like, I'm just thinking of, like, some of the stuff people don't always think about, but ground turkey, ground chicken, chicken breast that you're slicing up, and then I was thinking of when I was cooking everything, it was some type of seasonings that I would put on. I like garlic, so Tracy would make me like cauliflower with garlic and onion, broccoli, cauliflower, onion. I'd use that with some brown rice and chicken. I was chopping up chicken, and then the other thing was weighing it, so making sure I was weighing everything in grams. So getting a food scale is easy to do. It's not as hard as you think. It's like you just need a plan.
Yes.
Most people just don't get a plan and then they don't stick to it. So like you were saying, I've heard doctors saying a half a gram to 3/4 of a gram of protein. Here and you're over a gram. So if you're 200 pounds, you need 200 grams of protein at 1 gram. So just so people are having an easier understanding of it. This is what you're shooting for in a day. And then when you're having fillers of, protein bars or protein shakes and stuff like that, look at what's on the back. It's going to tell you, like, Perillo's is almost 20 grams per scoop. So you get 40 grams in a shake. So 2 shake.
Yep. Somewhere around there.
Yeah. I was always told growing up, like, I would hear, like, my nurse at my elementary school say that you can only eat so much protein, and like past a certain amount was bad, and your body can only process so much. Then I go to college and playing college sports. They were like, you have to eat a gram of protein per pound of body weight, and that really enlightened me because it was a big difference. And I know I saw the kids that didn't do it, and they didn't fuel their body correctly, and they were the ones that were injured a lot easier. And it would be small things. It wasn't like crazy injuries. It was like so basic that that were preventative with a good diet. So
the other like small cheats I think of, like with protein, like protein powders and so forth. When you said get PB2, and I was like, what the hell is PB2? I had no idea. And it's like a powdered peanut butter, and you put that in with your shake, and you shake it up, and like, it's like chocolate and peanut butter, or like as vanilla with peanut butter. It has such a better taste. You're just tricking your mind, right? You're just trying to do alternatives, so you're not eating the thick tablespoon of peanut butter and getting all that fat.
Right.
So what is it that you're doing that's easier, that you can trick the mind, lose the weight? Because abs are made in the kitchen, but you still have to do the work too.
Correct.
So it comes back to we were talking about when you got your pro bodybuilding card. You're in narcotics, you're working wire, and you're working what, 12 to 16-hour days, 6 days a week?
I was working 6 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day, all the way up until about 4 weeks out from that show.
So you didn't go to the gym at all then?
4 a.m.
Yeah, wow.
And then back again after I got out of work for the day.
Yeah, I really want to go dive deep into that, but I have one more nutrition. This is more personally for me. What's your thoughts on like pre-workouts and stuff like Celsius drinks or Bang energy drinks? What's your opinion on this?
I do take a pre-workout. I use the C4. Cellucor C4. I like it.
Jacks me up.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I've tried several. That was the one that I don't feel any kind of crazy tingling going on anywhere, but it gives me that nice pump, gives me that just enough energy to get through the workout really good. And remember, I go to the gym 4:30 in the morning. As soon as I get up, I haven't even eaten. I just get up in the morning, I grab my cup of coffee for the ride there and a little pre-workout. And that gets me through, and there's no crash from it. So I really like the C4.
Yeah.
And then I get home from the gym and I start recovering by eating right away. So
Good. That gives me validation.
Well, I didn't mention Celsius. What'd you think?
Yeah. What's your thoughts on like Celsius? Are you familiar with the Celsius energy drinks?
Yeah, I don't do too many energy drinks.
How about the kids? Kristen drink it or no?
Well, college age kids,
drink
they're drinking that stuff.
That was big when I was.
I tell her to limit those. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of using those energy drinks. So,
gotcha.
So then our third thing is really mindset. So
Yes.
I think of even with Kristen over these years of getting her ready for college and so forth, and I'd be talking to you like, oh yeah, we're getting ready to go out, we're going to hit some balls, we're going to do this, we're going to ground some balls, whatever it may be. Hey, we're going to the gym today, because you would be working out together and you would be helping train her. Hey, we're going to go see this specialist, this person's best at whatever it was, hitting. I just think of all those things. What was it like? Where's mindset behind it? And what was your thoughts on how do you help her get better? Because that's going to help our audience get better too.
Well, I think it starts with your family and how you're brought up. I think that's gives you a big basis and a big background. I know my parents they taught me work ethic. Work for what you want. You're not going to get anything you didn't work for. So they worked their butts off, and that's how I learned. And I think my daughters can learn the same from Kim and I. We both work very hard. We've always worked very hard. I like to lead by example. Mm-hmm. Luckily, Kristen, she just developed that same work ethic, and it's just been
around it her whole life.
I couldn't be more proud of that girl, and it's such a pleasure to work with her. She outworked me.
Wow.
That's the mindset she has. She's so determined. And she's fun to work with. Any coach that's ever coached her has absolutely loved her, because she is absolutely the hardest worker in the room. And I say that with 100% confidence. That's just the way she is.
But it's what they see over years and years and years of like, hey, this is what my dad did. Like,
absolutely.
And I just think that transpires. So if they don't have somebody to follow, go find somebody. Like there's somebody there, right?
Yep.
So it's always a mentor. So, this was a good thing because it's, her dad that you're, training her, you have all the wisdom of it, and you want to see her achieve at a high level. So now she makes it to, Division I softball and so forth, and constantly achieve. And then you go through and you get injuries, right?
Yep.
You never had any injuries over the years, right?
I was actually lucky. I didn't have any major injuries until I was competing at 35 and earned my pro card. That I developed an injury in my shoulder that almost stopped me from getting to the finish line.
Wow.
I remember training, and certain exercises, certain movements, I would literally have tears running out of my eyes because it hurt so bad to do that movement. And I needed to because I had to finish. But injuries, they happen, just deal with them.
You have a immense drive to start something but finish it at the end. Tell me more about how that came about and why you chose the route for bodybuilding and doing a lot of the shows and stuff like that and getting your pro card.
I've always been a competitive athlete. Played soccer. I was a wrestler. Played baseball. Played baseball in college at the JUCO level.
Nice.
But when I was in high school, I had a wrestling coach, Coach Hustler, and you probably remember him from high school. The absolute best coach I've ever had. And I told him, I talked to him not too long ago, and I told him that. I thanked him for everything he taught me and everybody else years ago. He taught us, your mind tires before the body. That was a big thing. So he taught us the mental aspect of being a competitive athlete. And we learned that, when you're on the mat and you're wrestling, I still think it's the toughest sport there is. I mean, you're 2-minute periods on that mat, and it is just you and another warrior going at it. Somebody's got to be more mentally tough than the other. And he taught us that aspect of the sport and of being a competitive athlete. And I took that into bodybuilding. I was able to train at levels that most people didn't understand. Because I knew that I'm not going to die. I'm just going to work so hard because that goal, that thing I'm visualizing, I'm going to meet that. So I always had that, okay, so if the competition's on this date, this is what I want to look like on that date. And that would be in my head every time I went into the gym, every time I trained, and I wouldn't accept no for an answer. So it didn't matter if I was tired. It didn't matter if I was hurting. It didn't matter about anything. That was the goal. That's what I was going to do. But I give a lot of props to Coach Hustler. And then also I was lucky when I got into the bodybuilding world. I was introduced to one of the top trainers that we've ever seen, a guy by the name of Todd Sweeney. Todd Sweeney has since passed away, but I was lucky enough to work with him and to train under him. He taught me just about everything I knew throughout those years. And John Perillo, I talked about Perillo supplements. John Perillo was a trainer of champions. He trained so many professional athletes. When he and Todd used to get together and train me, I felt like I was going to die. These guys would just put me through hell. But they knew that I was that athlete that was just going to keep going, and they weren't going to break me. And it taught me to train at levels, like I said, that most people don't understand. Right. When I was training for my bodybuilding shows, I would get on the step mill and do my cardio, and I would set that thing to level 20, which is the highest level it goes on, and literally run it for 60 straight minutes. And people would say, well, how do you do that? Because that's what I have to do. I have a show in so many weeks, and that's what's needed. And they didn't understand how a natural athlete like myself could get to that level of fitness. Everybody accused me of being on steroids. I was like, no.
Get tested every time.
Doing everything exactly. I'm doing everything.
From the show, we were like, where's he at?
Yeah.
Getting tested again.
Doing everything I know I need to do to look my best.
Right.
So,
and I'm sure that temptation was there. I'm sure you competed against people that were taking stuff, and I know that's very common in that industry. So, what kept you from doing that, number one? And number two, what pride do you have in saying, like, I'm fully natural? Because I'm sure you probably get people looking at you thinking, nah, I don't know. But how do you approach that? What's your approach on those people that don't take the easy route?
Right. Well, I also got to train with Kevin Leroney. For those who don't know who Kevin Leroney is, he was one of the top bodybuilders in the world. He was always like Mr. 2 and number 2 in the Mr. Olympia and whatnot. And I got to meet Kevin through Todd Sweeney, and I trained with Kevin exclusively before the '94 Olympia, that week prior to him going to the Olympia. And I had many talks with Kevin while we trained and while he'd come and hang out at the gym, Maximum Fitness.
Yeah, his dad's old gym.
Mm-hmm. And so he was like my idol when I was 20, 21 years old. He was my idol, and the conversations that I had with him, they really helped me. Now, even though he was my idol, and I thought that, man, I really want to look like that, I made a decision to stay natural, knowing that that's just the kind of athlete that I am. I didn't want to use any steroids, and felt that the natural route was just the more suitable route for me. So I stayed there. I competed against guys on steroids. I beat a lot of guys that were on steroids. Some beat me. And that's when the last time I competed, I said, I want my pro card. That was the goal when I competed in full natural organization. So,
wow.
But just going back, so I think of that night after he won, and I was like, all right, what do you want now that you win? He's like, Pizza John's Pizza. So he went,
Shout out Pizza John's.
I love pizza.
But simple pleasures, right? We all need, that's part of this is like, all right, you have to work on your nutrition, but it's never perfect, right? You know, here when you got up to like 250s and you drop down to 230s and then you get back to a 185. Like I think of my past, I was 255. Now I'm back down to like 210. I'm like, that's the best. When I graduated high school, it was 225. So, you know, way different. There's never perfect. You know, it's always a course of like, where do you want this? Where do you want to go in life? You can do it. But hearing you say like, all right, you have to work for it. But I'm thinking with Coach Hustler of like more than likely you're not going to die, right? You're going to go in. You just have to figure out what it is that you want, and your mind breaks down faster than your muscles do.
Yep.
Because there's so many times you've been working. I think of it like you're doing a workout. You're like, oh God, I'm so tired. Blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking of that level 20 on the Stairmaster for 60 minutes.
That's freaking
like,
wild.
No,
that's
thanks.
insane.
I'll pass. So, but when I used to work out with him at his dad's gym and stuff, I was like, he would always be killing me. And I'm like, holy shit! I wasn't there mentally then.
Right.
But who you surround yourself, right?
Yeah,
he was
absolutely.
surrounding himself with different people than I was.
Right.
I was working, but I wasn't working in a gym and having the right people around me. And hey, these are my goals. That was his goals then. So it's also setting your goals for what you want. So it's so much comes back into your mindset. So we talked about fad diets and nutrition and like sticking to a plan, and then just mindset.
Yeah, and I'll touch on. We always talk about. You are who the 5 closest people you are to, like you hang around, and you bringing up, obviously the journey was independent to you, but there was people along the way that you kind of attached to and you looked up to, and you wanted to be around, that allowed you to excel heights that maybe you didn't even realize in the beginning. And I think that's always tremendous. And part of the reason why we started this podcast is we want to show people like these are everyday people you would never expect that have attained a lot of success. And a lot of times you just have to search and build relationships with people and give value to everyone else to show that you can do these things too. You just got to be around the right people that are going to push you and move you forward. So
absolutely.
And all that, and retire at 50.
Yeah, man. So what is that like? So usually when people retire, you picture them drinking a Corona, sitting on the beach. Is that Chris Toland's version of retirement? What is that now?
I do have a couple drinks here and there.
Yeah.
I'm normal.
Yeah.
So
next week will be another story.
Yeah. Retirement is great, and I'm enjoying it. I had a long, busy career with the police department, and it's a nice big sense of relief to be retired from there and enjoy life a little bit without being a slave to the phone.
Right. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Right.
And I think of like over time, some of the things too are the sacrifices. You work in 14-hour days. Of like, hey, you're working all this, but you're still up at 4 a.m. Yeah. You're working this wire. You have 4 weeks till now. You have that, and now you have 4 weeks left until your competition. And you've been, I want to get my pro bodybuilding card. 35. I'm like, holy crap. So all those sacrifices you have to go through. So you have to make sure your target is what you know and what your target is, right? So many people go through life without the target of what is it that I want. So make sure you're really setting it, and then how bad do you want it, because there's going to be major sacrifices, right?
Absolutely.
You had so much hard work that you put in, so much time, so much effort, so much, you're talking about tears where like, hey, I'm working out and doing this exercise, and you have so it's that blood, sweat, tears too. Hey, I'm had a surgery or injury that almost caused me not to make it to the finish line. So just know there's sacrifices, and everybody wants immediate gratification today. Is like, there's going to be a lot of knocking people out of the way, or, not so much knocking them out of the way, but hard work to get these things done. So I just want people to think of, like, it's not easy. I mean, that road wasn't easy, right?
No, not at all. And it's the little steps, every week, seeing that progress every week. So you set the goal. No matter what it is that you're trying to do, you set that goal, and then you work towards that goal and get those little steps. Make sure it's progressing forward.
That momentum builds, and all of a sudden steps get easier and easier and easier.
Yep.
So, and like riding a bike, it's the large goal. I always what you're getting to is perfect. It's like you have your large goal, but within the large goal, there's like this funnel of these small things that you have to do to get there. It's not something that everybody expects, like this boom, wake up one day and I'm shredded, I'm jacked, veins popping out everywhere. No, it's a very long and often daunting process. But once you get past those brick walls, that's where it happens. So
absolutely,
I've been like paying attention on social media a lot lately, and they're talking about just like CEOs and all the other things, these high level jobs or entrepreneurs that have all this money, but they don't have 6-pack abs, right?
Yeah.
So think of how small the percentage is, because you're seeing more and more millionaires here now, but less that are physically fit.
Very true.
And it's not just the 6-pack abs, but it's like, all right, what are you doing? Because it's changing lifestyle to enjoy life and actually live longer too. Because it's not like, hey, I'm not doing these things just to be more fit. I'm doing them because I feel better, number one. I have more energy, number two. And I want to live longer, number three.
Yeah, longevity.
Absolutely.
100%. Well, Chris, I really appreciate you coming on today. This was really impactful for me. And I know I'm younger, and I want to stay in good physical shape as long as possible and even get better. So I really appreciate that advice, but also hearing your journey and your mental side really it inspires me. Matter of fact, I'm going to the gym after this, so I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
Me and him are early ones.
Yeah.
I'm
already in bed.
Right.
4:30 this morning.
There you go. So you got me beat there, but I appreciate it. And Lee, you want to kick us off?
Yeah. So I appreciate you coming in. Great words of wisdom. Going back to get the hard things done early. Set your day, setting a plan, like whether it's eating, working out, any target that you're going after, make sure you're putting a plan in place, but then follow it.
Absolutely. And
then you're going to have course corrections, because you're going to fall off course. So it's like, all right, how do you get back on course? One bite at a time, literally, and then one step at a time for the gym, because people want the easy, quick, and it's not. So anything else in closing?
Yeah, it's certainly not easy, and it's one step at a time. Nobody's perfect, so yeah, you do. There's going to be days where you may miss a workout. There's going to be days where you do fall off the wagon with your eating. Just get back on, get back to it. Visualize that goal and get back to it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Subscribe, like, comment below.